Alright, I got it in here. I've got a mark right here. I don't know if you can see it. That's how deep I want to go. And I got to bring this down flat. I want this top to end up being 8 millimeters wide. So I got to bring it down, flip it over, take the same amount off the other side. I try to keep the two sides flat and parallel as I'm going. It's going to be kind of tricky, but that's just, it is what it is. So what I'll do, I'll come down. I'm not going to go clear back to my line. I'll get close to it, but then I can stand it up straight and come in and file that edge down to my line and adjust it from side to side to keep it even and keep it square with the side. Oop. I don't want to clamp this thing too tight in my vise, so I don't want to booger up that where them threads got to be. I've got a couple different sets of soft jaws, but the way they're made, it's kind of hard to get in there and hold that. I'll just take my time here, go slow. Brass files pretty easy, so it doesn't take too long. Biggest thing is keeping it level, square, keeping everything straight, flat. I can see, I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not, but it looks to me like I'm not quite as deep back here towards the back edge. It's nice and flat, and it seems to be pretty square. I might need to, this side over here might be just a hair high. It's a slow process. It's kind of tedious, but it takes a lot of practice to be able to do a good job filing on something like this. It's just something that I think everybody needs to be able to do, if for no other reason than to make you appreciate some of the more modern ways we've got of doing things. You know, I could stick this in a milling machine, buzz across there, make it perfectly flat, level, square. Wouldn't take very long at all. It'd be perfect. But there was a time when we didn't have that option. I'm liking it. Like I say, it just takes patience and practice. You can't get in a big hurry. If you get in a hurry, it's when you screw things up. Pretty nice. I might have to take it's kind of hard to tell. I think it's running uphill this way just a little bit. Switch over to this other file here. Sometimes a smaller file is a little bit easier to control. Taking a finer cut, and I can see it starting to level out there and come the other direction. The big file's nice for hogging stuff off of there. When you get down close like this, it's nice to be able to switch over to something that ain't quite so aggressive. Helps to have good lighting too when you're filing. You can watch the surface of the metal and how it's reflecting the light, and that'll tell you, it'll give you a pretty good idea of whether you're flat, whether it's, you know, whether you've got it leading one way or the other. That looks pretty good right there. Come in here and touch his shoulder up just a little bit. I think I'm pretty close here to my depth that I want to be. Like I'm gonna turn it over here, go to work on the other side. The trick is get this thing in the vise with that bottom side pretty level. And this is all just by eyeball. If it looks good to my eyeball in the vise, it's probably going to look good to my eyeball on the gun. You can trust your eyes. They generally are a pretty accurate measuring tool. And this isn't, you know, this isn't a precision down to the thousandth of an inch piece either. This is something that has to look good It has to look right, but it doesn't necessarily have to be where you can take a micrometer and put on it and it measures exactly perfect all the way around. Somebody grabs my gun and starts taking a mic to my rear sight, they're looking too close. If they can't just look at it and see that somebody did a nice job and put a lot of work into that sight, you know, that's the main thing. It just has to, yeah, it's a precision piece in some ways, but in the end, if it looks good and does what it's supposed to do, it doesn't matter if there's a thousandth of an inch of taper from this side to this side, or if these two sides are out of parallel by a couple thousandths. It really doesn't matter. You're not going to see that without measuring it. And it has absolutely no bearing on how the thing works. But you still try to make it as perfect as you can regardless. You just have to realize that it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. You got to find that balance between perfection and practical. Alright, I got the filing done. I took my calipers and measured this thing, and it's within 1 or 2 thousandths of being parallel, these two sides being parallel, front to back and top to bottom. It's within 1.5 thousandths, 2 at the most, of being parallel both directions. These two steps are within a couple thousandths of being the same height. Now we just got to put some threads down here. So we'll put it in a vise. I stuck it back in the lathe real quick and knocked a nice chamfer on this end. But put it back in the vise. I'll find a tap or a die. We'll run some threads on it, 1032, and then we got to make a jig to put it in the, hold it on the tool post of the lathe, and run a, I believe it's going to be a 1/4 inch hole through it.